You should really start tracking your finances. And this is coming from somebody who never really paid attention to their finances throughout their life. And I'm really just starting to get to the point where I am taking a look at it and paying attention. And it's really already making a difference for me. Now, there's a couple reasons why people wouldn't do this, and I think the first big one is they're afraid of what their accounts look like, or just afraid to face the responsibility of their spending, because a lot of people are actually spending money and not really knowing where it's going, and at the end of the month, they look at their accounts and are like, wow, I just don't have what I thought I did. First, I want to talk about why you should. And so the first thing is you really want to understand either why you have no money or where all your money is going, right? Because a lot of people are just bleeding money with little purchases or whatever they're spending on throughout the month, and they just don't remember, or you just do it to do it, not really knowing what you're gaining from it. So if you start tracking, it'll really show you where your money's going and why you maybe have less than you thought you did. Now, another reason you should is because it allows you to take the ownership of your own financial situation versus letting it control you. Now, this kind of ties into the last point, but a lot of people just feel like they have no hope, they're not in control, they don't know what's going on, and it's not up to them if they're going to succeed or not. But when you start looking at your finances and paying attention to them, you really are able to take ownership of your money and put yourself in the right direction. So this kind of goes into the next point. It really sets you up for success. No one's going to hold your hand throughout life. No one's going to take your money and invest it for you or separate it and sort it for you unless you pay somebody to do it. But nobody's just going to take care of your finances for you. So you really need to be the one learning and taking a ownership of your situation. Now, other things that really come from tracking your finances is you can make progress towards your financial goals. This could be something like retirement or saving for a house or budgeting your bills or your expenses. And it kind of lets you audit yourself. Where's my money going? Am I making progress towards the future? Or am I just pissing the money away into, shopping or going out to eat or going to bars, whatever it might be for you? All right, so when it comes to tracking your finances, I think there's a couple different levels you can look at, right? At the most basic level, you really just want to understand your money in versus your money out, right? What are you getting paid versus what are you spending money on or your expenses, right? And that could be separated into a few different things, right? Like what are your non-negotiables? This would be like rent, loan payments, bills, whatever you absolutely need to spend the money on first. And then the separate category would be the negotiables, right? What are you freely spending your money on? Is this going out to eat, going to the bar, buying clothes, buying whatever it might be for you? That if you were to cut out would suck, but ultimately would not be a deal breaker. And this will really show you where your money is going, right? Are you spending more money than you make? Or are you in a good spot with your spending, right? Are you spending what you can and paying for everything else that you need to be spending on, like the rent, the loans, the bills? And one simple way to do this is to just take a month and write down everything you're spending money on. I know this sounds kind of daunting, but if you just open up a spreadsheet, keep a note on your phone every time you buy what you bought, how much it was, it'll really show you just a snapshot of what you're spending your money on. And you can even just do that for 1 month. Even that will be a lot of information for you to kind of work off of. Now, I think the next level, once you kind of understand your basic money in, money out, is to start tracking your net worth. Now, for me, it's not a huge deal to kind of know what my net worth is. I don't do it to be like, oh, wow, look at that. I do it because it kind of shows you an overall snapshot of are you trending in the right direction or the wrong direction with your finances. Now, the simplest way to do this is just with a spreadsheet, right? You're going to track all of your assets versus all of your liabilities. So assets being something like cash, investments, even your car if you have equity on your car, and any maybe property you might own, stuff like that. Not like, your iPhone that's worth $1,000, right? Like you're not gonna be able to turn around and sell that for $1,000. So I don't really track anything tangible besides my car or property. I don't have property, but I do track my car. Typically, for a lot of people, it's gonna be like a negative asset, not negative asset, but like your car value is gonna be less than your car loan, or it's just not gonna be as high, but I still track it anyway. A lot of people don't, but I don't know, I think it's important. And then on the other side, you have your liabilities. So this is going to be like your debt, your loans, credit card debt, anything like that that's going to be things that you owe on or need to pay. And so then basically you just set up a simple Excel spreadsheet, whatever you're setting up, and you just take the assets, add the liabilities, or subtract the liabilities, I should say, and that will either be a positive or negative number. Now, I'll be honest, for me right now, it's a negative number with student loans versus what I have, but every month that you track, I start to see that I'm gaining momentum, I'm doing the right thing, and my net worth is getting closer and closer to zero, which is my ultimate goal, my first goal. So again, this is just like an overall snapshot to see your financial situation and how it's going for you. Now, stepping a little bit further into the tracking your finances kind of realm, I would put your investments, right? Tracking your investments. Now, not everybody has investments. Some people have more than others, but you can kind of start to track, what you're buying, how much you hold, what the returns look like, your monthly, yearly overall progress. And I put this as like the third step because it's really not as necessary as the other two, and it's a lot harder, more effort to do this. Most investment firms or organizations, whatever you want to call them, they provide a monthly statement, so that's an easy way to track as well. If you don't want to simply track it yourself, you can always look at their statements, and that'll show you your growth. And so I've kind of been talking about what to track, but how to track it. So again, I kind of spoke a little bit about the spreadsheets. I like spreadsheets. They're simple, it's electronic, they're flexible. You can really do a lot with them when you start to look up like different tutorials. But you don't need anything fancy like the formats or equations. All you need is a simple Excel spreadsheet. There's the basics. I've started incorporating like really simple equations or formats, whatever you want to call them, to just add some cells for me together, and that's been a big help too. But again, you could always use pen and paper. That gives you the freedom to organize your finances however you would like, right? A lot of creativity can go into this. You really don't need too many supplies. It would just be like a book or a paper or whatever you want to keep it on, and then just something to write it down with. But I tend to prefer the spreadsheets. So, and then again, where do we start, right? You want to keep it simple. You want this to be as easy as possible, something that you can stick to. I kind of spoke about it a little bit, but anytime you make a purchase, just start by writing it down. The date you bought it on, what it was, and how much. And this could be something you do for 1 month, for multiple months, whatever you need to get your momentum rolling. Because you need to understand what you're spending on, whether that's by category or just by the volume that you're spending on. You need to get a hold of it and know exactly where your money's going. And then after that is when I would recommend going to a little bit more in-depth look at your finances of tracking your net worth. I really think this is something that's super easy and will show you your progress. It's super simple. All you got to do, like I said before, add up your assets, subtract your liabilities, boom, you have a net worth. Now, I like to track this personally month over month. Now, there's not huge changes, but it definitely shows you if you're doing the right things or not. Now, again, other things I like to track are when I get paid, where that money needs to go, right? So if I know I need to pay so much on a loan, or I know I want to put so much towards investing or saving, I like to keep track of that per paycheck. It helps me kind of see if I'm overstepping how much money I have, or if even I'm understepping and I have too much money in the end. I really want to get that balance, so I like to track my paychecks. I also track my net worth, like I previously said, and then I do track a little bit of my investments. And I'm kind of new to the whole investment world, so I'm kind of just using this to track how much I'm putting in, where it's going, what I'm holding, so I can kind of form my own plan, alter it as I need. So I'm not too in-depth with tracking my investments. I like to use the monthly statements a lot to kind of give me the framework for how I'm tracking things. And so I get it. It's scary. It can be, scary to reveal your spending and hold yourself accountable for your own finances. A lot of people today, they like to just ignore things and hope that it gets better. And I think we're getting to the point where ignoring stuff is starting to become the big fire instead of like a little fire on the ground, Instead of that small campfire, it's becoming like a building engulfed in flames. And we're still just trying to hope that somebody's going to put it out for us. And I know it can seem like a big task, like a lot of work, but once you kind of put the time in to initially create your setup for how you're going to track, it really doesn't take that much time every 2 weeks, every month, maybe 30 minutes. Like myself, I take about 30 minutes, maybe a month, just to track everything. But it gives you a great idea of where you're at and sets you up for future success, whether that's goals, retirement, saving for certain things in life. It's all going to come down to just tracking your finances and building that framework. So thank you for watching. I hope this inspires you to maybe start tracking or keep tracking, and I'll catch you guys next week.